Okay, everyone here at the Investing Stuff You Should Know podcast, we have a fantastic guest with us today, Bridger Pennington. Bridger Pennington is the founder of 3 investment funds that have done over 217 deals in the last 4 years. Sorry, he really recently launched a hedge fund worth over 10 million on their initial launch. He has started helping others launch their own funds through Fund Launch. I am a member of that program, so it's kind of cool to have be one of the students in the program and have the founder with us today. And he's got over 20,000 students designed, and it's designed to help them start their investment funds without working on Wall Street or having an Ivy League degree. So Bridger, thanks for being with us here, buddy.
Well, Johnny, good to be on, dude. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. So yes, you've told your story a lot. Many people have heard it, but just to give the folks here a little background, I take it like a paragraph or two. The Bridger Pennington life, kind of tail end, how you started kind of the entrepreneurial life, and then you started Fund Launch.
Yeah. Do you want just a quick overview?
Quick overview. Yep.
Yeah. So, quick overview. I grew up in a pretty normal household, started 6 companies my first years of college. And my dad grabs me and goes, Bridger, you're like a chicken with your head cut off. And he says, go meet with my business partner. Long story short, I find out my dad and his business partner and a bunch of other people, they're running a massive family of real estate funds. At the time, they were managing over $8 billion of real estate. Today, it's over $40 billion they manage, which is wild. It was crazy. I was like, holy crap, my dad. And we grew up in a very normal house. His business partners have these huge houses. And anyways, I started to learn about funds. My dad sat me down, taught me about funds, how they work. So at age 22, I'm like, I'm going to start a fund. So I went and found this great idea of doing a fund for this company I was working at. I was in college. I wanted to launch this little fund, and I go and I was like, I'm going to pitch my dad for money and because I need money for this fund. And so I pitched my dad. I go, Dad, how would you like to be our first investor in our funds? My dad says no, but he says, if I invest in your fund, it would ruin the experience of you raising money on your own. He goes, this is a lesson. You have to go out and learn on your own. And he kind of kicked me out. I said, go do this by yourself. And so I went out, hit the streets. I talked to everybody I knew, and I raised a whopping $49,500 for my first little micro fund. I was 22 years old. But it was enough. It was like a small, teeny fund, but it was enough to get started. I was so excited. I launched this little fund, and that fund did actually very well. We got a 64% return to our investors on that little micro fund. We then closed that, launched a bigger fund, our second fund, same strategy. We raised and deployed millions of dollars out of that fund, ran that for 3 years. I think we got a 62, 47, and a 36 net cash on cash return to investors for that fund for 3 years. It was awesome. About a year and a half ago, I had a competitor come in and buy our entire fund out, which is really cool. And then just recently, like you mentioned, I just launched a crypto hedge fund. I have a bunch of partners that are really good at crypto. We launched a fund. We raised $10 million right around our initial launch. It's pretty cool. And we're running that right now. And we're actually doing pretty well during this whole market collapse. We're actually doing pretty well, which is pretty cool. So, and then during this whole time period, we had a lot of people asking myself, my dad, and my brother is a securities attorney right now at the largest law firm in the world for funds. So we have a pretty cool family and all of us didn't go to Ivy League schools. All of us didn't have any of that, Wall Street background. And
when did you realize what your dad did, Bridger? When did you conceptualize what the hell your dad did? Because there's a time when we grew up as kids, it's like all of a sudden it's like you don't really think about or really know what your parents do. All of a sudden, when did that hit you?
Yeah, I think there's 2 moments. So I knew kind of that he was like doing real estate deals and stuff. That's kind of what I knew growing up. But he was an entrepreneur. That guy started like 13 different companies during his time period. So I didn't know what he was running as a kid.
Yeah. And by the way, what's the name of his company again? Is that Bridge Capital or what's the name of that company?
Yeah, he ran the block funds for a while, and then Bridge Investment Group.
Bridge Investment. Okay, yeah. So but go ahead on that. Yeah. So you realize what he did.
So there was two times I met. I had a friend in college. His dad managed a massive private equity fund, and it was like $2 billion. And I was like, whoa. And they lived in this huge house in one of the biggest houses in Utah. It was crazy. I went to his house one time. I was like, holy crap. And then I was like, wait, our family, their funds are way bigger than his, And I was like, holy crap. And then the second one that was biggest though was Grant Cardone, actually. So everyone knows Grant Cardone. Yes. I was like, oh, Grant Cardone's so cool. I started following his stuff and I was like, wait, my dad is doing exactly what Grant is doing It's just 10 times bigger than Grant. Like literally, they are literally about 10. They've been about 10x Grant Cardone since Cardone Capital began.
Yeah.
They kind of moved up about 10 times bigger, which is pretty crazy. So those are 2 months. I was like, holy crap, like this is pretty cool. And my dad is he's just a humble type of person. He drives a car with a dent in the door and doesn't really care about things, And so it's kind of cool. And I think you've met my dad before and at some of our events. He's a cool dude. He's an awesome guy. So
that's so good, man. So I like give people value right away, Bridger. So we're gonna talk about a few philosophical things. A lot of people talk about, like what you're doing and the funds and this and that. And there's a lot of information out there. Let's get a little bit philosophical here. Let's, in as few words as possible, what is a fund? Let's start there. Like that's defined terms here.
Yeah,
what is a fund?
And by the way, I want to say my dad still has never invested in any deal property project I've ever done. But he's a great mentor and he's a great coach and he's helped me a ton. And that's how we help do all this stuff. So sorry, back to your question. What are the most basic terms? What is a fund? All a fund is a pool of money. So if you think about it, just a pool of money, investors put money into that pool and people like me and you can draw from that pool. We go make investments. And whenever those investments or assets we buy make money, we just split the returns with ourselves and the investors. So this is like the oldest business model on planet Earth. Like think back in the Middle Ages, it was like, hey, we're going to open up a blacksmith shop. If you give me some money, I'll go open this shop. We're going to make some money. And then when we make money, we'll split the returns with you. Does that sound fair? Or like Christopher Columbus, right? He like went to countries and was like, hey, give me some boats and some ships and some men. We're going to go to the new world. We're going to get a bunch of gold and we're going to bring it back and we'll just split the returns. Okay. That's kind of the primitive version of a fund. Okay. They're not that complex. So when you talk about hedge funds, private equity, venture capital, real estate funds, you probably have heard those terms before. The only difference between all of those fund types,
yes,
they all actually function almost exactly the same. The only difference is what they invest into. So for example, a real estate fund is just a pool of capital, pool of money, and they buy and sell real estate. When the real estate makes money, they split the returns. A private equity fund, they buy private ownership in businesses. So they have a pool of capital, they buy privately held businesses. They'll buy restaurants, they'll buy franchises. There's a company on Wall Street called Sycamore Partners. They manage about $10 billion. They own Nine West Shoes, Aeropostale, Staples. Last year, they were trying to buy Victoria's Secret. This year, they were trying to buy Kohl's department store. That's a private equity company, private equity firm. Another example, hedge funds. So hedge funds, again, it's a pool of capital. Instead of buying private companies, they buy public companies or public securities. So stocks, bonds, options, futures, crypto, Forex. So it's all pretty much the same. It's just a pool of capital and they just go buy things. And when those things make money, they split them. So not too crazy.
Do you feel like the people that are of that Christopher Columbus and other types, Bridger, then are a special kind of people, and they just like, why does some of us feel the need to say, hey, I want to do something unique with more money than I might have in my own bank account or in my own, coin purse? What is it about those people that, why is that unique? What is it that drives us? If you look at it yourself and others that do that, what motivates us kind of,
I'd say there's two things. Yeah, I'd say there's two things. Number one is people like us understand that there is a ton to be done and we don't set limits of capital on ourselves. And there's lots of money in the world. Like that's how people always are like, man, there's no money there. Where's the money? There is so much money in the world. It's unfreaking real. And people actually, these wealthy people want to invest with you. I'm not kidding. They want to actually deploy capital. They hire teams of people every year that go out and just look for people like you to invest into. They're trying to give you money. They have teams and accounts. They pay $1 million a year of just salaries of people to go out and find investments like you. Okay. So people are looking for you, number one. But number two, I think the bigger thing, and this is actually the difference between people who can't raise money and people who can raise money. The people that are driven like that, they see an incredible opportunity. And they have just they just go, this is so amazing. I'm going to tell everybody I know about this thing. I don't care if it's a king, if it's my grandma, if it's a prince, if it's a family office, we're going to get some money together because this is so amazing. Like imagine Christopher Columbus. He's like, I know, or maybe he's been there before. Holy crap. There's this new whole continent. Like we got to go. I'll talk to any country, any nationality. I don't care. I'm going to bounce around because this is such an amazing opportunity. When you talk to an entrepreneur like that, that goes, wow, like look at this, the future of robotics or AI, or we're going to go to Mars, like Elon Musk. Like we need to be
Right.
multi-planetary. And you see the conviction in their eyes and the level of confidence they speak with. No wonder those people raise a lot of money very quickly. And so what drives those people? I think they've tasted the good, they tasted the fruit, and they're like, holy crap, I want to let everybody else in on this, and we can make this bigger and better than we've ever seen and change the world. We just need a little money to do that. All of a sudden, all those fears of raising capital, all those self-doubts, all those, oh man, there's no one would invest in me, all those things go away. And what you're left with is, wow, I've got a huge mission, and I just need to just convey that mission to other people, and they're going to throw capital in. It's really actually simple.
Do you feel that that it's a noble or moral endeavor, a profession, Bridger, basically the one of raising money for, hopefully a greater good, or a larger good than, that you see, that you want to achieve?
It's funny to say a whole industry is that way. I wouldn't agree with. I think the world of finance is very split. There's definitely bad actors, or people that aren't doing things for the greater good. They're doing it to make dollars, which is also, that's fine. It's capitalism, right? Others who raise capital have a huge mission behind them and a huge success story of what future innovation or things that they're going to consolidate or do better. So I think it's split in the world of finance. And both
like binary split, or just like there's just a lot of different, or would you say there's a lot of different things? So I guess the question is, like, in its most basic sense of raising capital, like I'm going to take this on as a, as a journey, as my job, essentially, as something, as what I do. Do you feel that is it? So basically, are you saying it's either good or bad, or do you think it's intrinsically, there's something that's intrinsically good there, or maybe noble?
Gotcha. So if you're coming from good intentions, yes, I think it's a noble thing. What you're doing is pooling resources for a more optimal type of results than otherwise those resources, that's capital, would have been spent on. The reason I'm split on it, because there's a lot of scammers in this world of fundraising or capital raising that, are fraudulent, I guess you could say. But on the flip side of that, you have people that are very noble, like, holy crap, if we can consolidate or scale or grow, there's a lot of good things that come out of it. And so the reason I'm split on the answer is just as funds in general. Like there's some private equity funds that come into companies, they buy a company, they rip the company apart and sell it off the pieces, right? I don't know if they fire a lot of people. Now it's more efficient usually to do that. So it's capitalism. But sometimes there's a lot of collateral damage that comes from that. There's other companies though that grab and buy 10 companies together. They group them together. It actually creates more jobs, more value, gives more discounts to customers, and actually does a lot of good for the world. And ultimately, at the end of the day, though, it all flattens out, and it is good, because capitalism, ultimately the winners rise and the losers fall. But there is a little bit of collateral damage in there. So now back to your thing on a noble thing, though. If you're coming from those good intentions of, we're here to pool resources to change the world or change a certain industry, or be more strategic with capital allocation, then 100%, I think it's a noble profession. I think it's an awesome profession to be in.
That's amazing, man. Thank you for that. I really like the thing you said. There's like two points ago, and that was that the motive. I guess it's tied in to that the motivation for the kind of the intrinsic part of where you're coming from there. So even kind of following up with that, we met in Mexico recently, in Cancun, and we had some good conversations here. And one thing you mentioned, it caught my ear, was, we all are striving for success, and success can mean different things for a lot of us. And as you go along the journey, that definition and vision can change, which is totally okay here. What is when you hit certain levels of success, I guess the pursuit of success, when does that transition happen, and what changes for you? You said, like, there was a certain level of, let's say, income or success that you were trying to achieve, and when that switch, because I've heard this from a lot of successful entrepreneurs as well, what is the mindset shift there? What is that? How does that go for, because we do want to hit that, but then how have you managed that?
Yeah. No, yeah. So we were talking about, and by the way, we were with our group in Cancun. We had like 200 people there. It was a blast. It was fun hanging out in Cancun. We had it was really fun for 3 days. So what I was talking about specifically there was, I'm a big believer in, at least for me, I'm just saying, for me personally, a lot of people go out there and they want to change the world. They're like, I'm going to go change the world. I'm going to save the whales. I'm going to stop climate change or whatever bad things happening. And they want to go change the world. They haven't changed their world yet. And I think I think to change the world, you can do it the other way, but I think it's a lot easier when you change your world first It's a lot easier to go change the world. And so for me, I thought, okay, in my 20s, I'm going to work my guts out to change my world. And I'm going to have these greater motivations and other things. And actually, we can talk about in a minute about giving and charity along the journey, not just at the end. Because a lot of people are like, once I'm rich, then I'll give away. But that's not how it works. You got to give while you're going and all that kind of stuff. But
Yes.
and change the world while you're going. But in the process, you got to change your world first. And I actually met with a guy at lunch today. Awesome, incredible person. He's actually in Black Card and hasn't really made a lot of money, but has these incredible charities and organizations. But the charities and organizations are just suffering and bleeding to death because he hasn't changed his world yet. He hasn't become the type of person that can run a massive organization, right? So I digress. So for me, I wanted to go change my world first. And so I went out to make money. I was like, dude, I'm in the game to make money. I'm going to change my world first. And I did that. Actually, I started 6 or 7 different companies. 5 of them didn't do really anything. They all kind of like broke even. I ran my fund. My fund did well. And then I launched my second fund that did well. And then I launched Fund Launch, done really well. I've done tens of millions of dollars in sales now, and it's been awesome. And I felt like, so the story I was referencing was about a year and a half ago. I hit this moment. I was like, like I'm doing pretty good financially. And it was funny, my motive, because I'm so coin driven. I was so money driven. And I wasn't ashamed of that either. I was like, dude, we're here to make money. This is a business. This isn't a charity. And I hit a point about a year and a half ago. I was like, okay. Like I've met all the goals and needs. Now I still want to make more money and scale and grow, but at least I've like hit a really comfortable spot. I could retire essentially right now and live in a pretty decent, like a normal middle-class family life, like for the rest of my life. So I was 90 years old, on residual income. And it was funny. My brain it took me about a month or two, started to shift from money to impact. And what are we doing? And how is our companies changing the world a little bit? Starting to change the world.
Could you define
our companies? We start to teach people how to do funds, right? And how that changes lives and all that kind of stuff. And I thought it was really cool. And so now I'm still motivated by money to make money. And I just thought it was so cliche. I heard entrepreneurs say this for years, like, don't focus on the money, just focus on impact. And I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I still agree it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard until you hit their level. And I get now why these billionaires say that, because they've gone to a different level of money. And now that's what they're focused on. But they weren't focused on that 20 years ago. When they started, they were focused on money. Now they've become focused on impact and other things. So anyways, I don't know if that's right or wrong. It's how I think. And I felt the shift about 18 months ago in my brain.
So when you say when you said this concept that you lay out there, Bridger, you say change, your worlds before you change the world. And so when you say that, define that a little bit better. So essentially like the world as in encompassing just, financial, success. Is that kind of what you're kind of conceptualizing as the world there? So whatever you're trying to
change
achieve.
My world, right? When I say change my world, that can mean different things for different people. Some people, it means you got to go to get that degree or go to college or whatever that is for you to get the education. Some people it's, you've got to, sorry, I'm getting a phone.
That's okay.
Someone left their phone in my office. So you change, you're changing and for me, it was like, I got to change my finances. Like I got to have enough money that I'm comfortable. I'm okay. I can hop on a jet at any time and fly across the world to change the world, not bleeding to death. And because I think I just meet a lot of people, like I had a guy at lunch today who is bleeding to death financially because he didn't learn how to change his world first.
Right.
And he was focusing on everybody else first, which is a very noble thing. He's an awesome, incredible person. But I just see people that suffer when they don't. I don't know. I just think it's a lot easier to change your world first.
Do you think that's
education, your generational, maybe they have generational abuse or something in your family. You rip yourself out of that and say, I'm a different person, a linchpin type of a person that changes my family's trajectory. And then once you change your family, yourself and your family around you, then it's a lot easier, I think, to go change the world. That's what I meant by that.
From the successful people you've been around and seen in your own self, Bridger, do you feel like that's maybe a prerequisite, but something that many people have done is a similar path, is really, really niche down and focus really, really hard? Because there's a lot of people out there right now on social media and elsewhere in books and say, hey, focus on the one thing, and some of these other books, ways of thinking and ways of approaching things, the one thing. Do you feel like that is a reasonable foundation to focus in on is the financial aspect? Or do you think it is, do you think as you look, maybe even looking back now, or again, observation of other millionaires or billionaires that you've been around, maybe a better way would have been to, focus on, family, health, and concurrently also financial? Give me your thoughts there. If you have anything to add.
Yeah, there's a lot of different thoughts on this, and I think you got to find what works for you. For me, my story, my first 2 years of college, I started 6 different companies in 2 years. And these were not ideas. These were actual businesses. I had employees. We were doing revenue. I wholesaled 2 houses. I did like 6. We built websites for people. I did 6 websites. We did a Forex trading thing. We did like an online course for real estate. We had 2 mentors came on. Anyways, all this stuff. And what I found was I had shiny object syndrome, meaning every time I started getting something going, I'd have like squirrel, like shiny object. I'm going to go after something else. And what happened was I had split focus, and maybe other people can do this. I'm not smart enough to build 2 or 3 or 5 businesses at the same time, but I can, if I focus all my time, efforts, attention, and energy on one thing at a time, I see massive success in that thing. And I had to totally change my mindset. And what I thought was, you know what? I had actually a great college professor. This guy was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He actually came and donated his time to teach at the school, which was so cool. And he just said, guys, all of your businesses, set a timeline and a budget on your business. Stop letting these ideas in the back of your brain fester around for a year or 2 years. How long have you thought about launching that one business? He's like, screw that, dude. 99% of your businesses can be vetted in 3 weeks with $500. If you go all out, like all time, attention, energy for 3 weeks on that business idea, and you spend $500 on a market survey, a plane ticket, whatever it is, you will have enough data to know if you should pursue that project or not. You'd be surprised how much you can come out if you spend essentially 100 to 150 hours of time, 100% thinking in the shower, at night, at sleep on that idea. And after 3 weeks, you'll know if you can get to the next stage. And the next stage, for me at least, if that 3 weeks passes of like, okay, this is something worthwhile, I then set another timeline and budget. For me, it's about 7 months. So I'll say, I'm going to go all in on something for 7 months, and I'm going to set up whatever that budget is for that business. In 7 months, you can do incredible things if you're focusing on something. So at least when I was starting out, I thought, you know what? If I just do that process, like a month plus 7 months, about 8 months. So about, let's call it, I could do one and a half over 2 years, about 2 projects like this. In about 5 or 6 years, chances are I'm going to hit something big, right? Like if I do this enough times and just survive, but I keep swinging the bat, right? Getting up to the plate and swinging for the home run, dude, I'm going to hit something in 3 years or 4 years or 5 years if I keep doing that model. And I go all in. Instead of trying to do 5 things at once, just do one at a time. And sure enough, the next business I started was Fund Launch. We've done 16 million in sales in about 2 years, 2.5 years. Right. That's huge amazing, margins. Man. And it's been crazy. And we've had a 12, like it was just like blew up. And then I did the same thing with my fund. I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus on this for 4 months. I did it. We launched our fund. We raised $10 million. I was like, cool, and now we've started to get scale in teams, and I can start launching more projects, but it's pretty crazy. So I'm a big believer in focus. Now you asked about health and family. Those there's a concept of shiny, glass balls and rubber balls. There's some balls that you're juggling in your life that are glass balls and some that are rubber. It's okay to drop the rubber balls. It's not okay to drop the glass balls. For me, a glass ball would be my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my kid, and health. Like those two, and spirituality. Like if I drop one of those, I'm way out of I'm disoriented.
Yes.
And so, my business will suffer as well. So if I'm 7 months all in, that means I've got to be in the best shape of my life. That means I've got to have great relationship with my wife, because she's got to understand I'm going to be working longer. And so the time I spend with her has got to be even better than it was before. I got to have a great spiritual relationship with God, and I believe in God, but you might believe in the universe or whatever. Like I got to have so I go all out on those things. Because those fuel, if you have a great relationship with God and your wife and a great physical body, and then you're focused for 30 days or 7 months on something, good things are going to come out of that. right?
Yeah, man, I
Like
totally agree.
you're
I'm
gonna
not,
have
those are
success.
huge, things. And I'm also a Christian. I mean, my relationship with God is super, super important, and my family. Yeah. So it's, those things are, I like that concept, the glass and the rubber balls. That's a great analogy. It's a great way to think of it. Like some things you don't, you make sure that they never fall, they never hit the ground. Cause yeah, you couldn't put a glass ball back together. So, all right, man. So coming into it here. So do you have a funny story for us? Now, sometimes this throws people off, but something that maybe is embarrassing or just a funny story to share, and then we'll wrap it up here.
Oh man, in like what context? Like in business or
Oh,
life
let's
or
go
with
business. Yeah,
family or what?
yeah, let's go with business. Something that like just like, oh, so maybe it's so embarrassing that you wish you had never done or something like that. Or yeah, it could be family, but yeah. So let me keep with business.
Okay. I'll tell a quick story, I guess. I've had, for whatever reason, since I was young, I had this dream of speaking on stage and like doing
Yeah,
events and like speaking. I told this story at Fun Launch Live, so you might have heard this before, but I had this dream of doing this. So I started to like, and I was student body president in high school. I was in student council. I was always on stage in front of assemblies, like always talking. I just loved it. And I got into college and I was trying to like land a TEDx talk. I was trying to land all these talks. And that's one of the reasons I love Fun Launch. Like we get to do events. We have a huge event we're planning next May
I
in
can tell you
Miami.
tell you like events, man. That's I can
There,
tell. I can tell.
it's fun. So I don't know why I just geek out on it. I think it's just interesting. And so it was in college. I had this opportunity. I was in a class and it was about 400-person class of entrepreneurs. I had launched my fund and I was doing okay. Like I was having a little bit of success. And my professor asked me to speak on stage to the whole class
Yeah.
on my business and what I was doing for like 45 minutes. I had this whole keynote like thing. And so he calls me the day before and he's like, "Are you in?" I'm like, "I'm in." Like I've been preparing for this for a decade. Like I'm ready to take the big stage. And it was a cool
A
auditorium.
decade.
Yeah, it was like awesome, right? So I prepped this whole thing. I'm up all night. I like invite my wife to come. I'm like, "Honey, come." Like, I'm in college right now, but I'm married, and I'm like, "Come watch." So I get ready. I go to the bathroom. I get all all cleaned up. I go on stage, and I do this whole presentation. And if you guys have heard me speak, I didn't take it lightly. So I'm yelling. I like tell a sad story. So I'm like, I'm trying to get everyone to cry. And then I'm telling funny stories and I'm like stomping. I got up on a chair at one point. Like I really went all out. Like I
Yeah.
really wanted to leave this impression on everybody, which was probably just not the right thing to do. But anyway, so after I get in the car with my wife, she's like, "You did amazing, honey," all this kind of stuff. And I'm driving home and she's looking over at me. She's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm looking down kind of like this.
Yeah.
And she goes, "What's going on?" And I go, "How long's my zipper been down?" And she goes, "Well, didn't you go to the bathroom?" And I was like, "Right before I went on stage." And she's like, "Oh my gosh." And I look back and I had my zipper down for the entire 45 minutes on stage. I was yelling, jumping around, screaming with my zipper. Like, and it wasn't just like kind of down, it was down and open. One of those, like it's
Fly
like
was
wide
open.
And anyways, it
That's
was, so talk about an embarrassing funny story. I was pretty embarrassed and people knew, actually. People after like messaged me and stuff, and it was like a joke that everyone was laughing about in the audience, and I apparently didn't realize what was going on and was apparently unaware of the audience. And so anyways, there you go.
that's
My
an
embarrassing
awesome
story.
story. That's an awesome story, man. I'm not, also it's good that you didn't know at the time, but also, I mean, God has ways of keeping us humble too, doesn't he?
Oh, 100%. It's a nice pie chair or whatever, a humble pie was handed to
Yeah,
me. Yeah.
nice slice of humble pie there. So, all right, man. So, tell the audience how to get in touch with you, and what you're doing next. Yeah, just give them a quick promo for Fun Launch.
Yeah. Well, Johnny, thanks for having me on today. This was awesome. You have great questions and it's a fun podcast. Come listen or subscribe, whatever you guys do to this podcast. But
Appreciate that.
For me, we have a couple of cool free items if you guys are interested on funds. So we actually teach funds online. I have a YouTube channel, we have a bunch of stuff. We actually have a free course on funds. So 100% free. It's like 40 videos. Go to fundlaunch.com or bridgerpennington.com. Both go to the same spot. You can download it. Seriously, it's a completely free course. You put your name and email in and bam, you're in the course, and it's awesome. It's my way to give just value up front. Yes, we have higher ticket coaching programs. We help you guys one-on-one. We'll help build your fund, but like I just like giving people that free course. Additionally, we have some fun events coming up. We got Fun Launch Live. We just signed some huge big speakers we're announcing in a few weeks, so I won't spill the beans now, but it's gonna be May 10th through the 12th. 2,500 people live in Miami. It's called Fund Launch Live. Tickets
It's gonna be
go on
fun.
sale.
It's gonna be fun, folks. Funds. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun with funds. So anyways, Bridger Pennington, find me on Instagram. Look out for all the scam accounts, but Bridger_Pennington or fundlaunch.com. Message me and I'll message you guys back.
So good. Okay, everyone here at the Investing Stuff You Should Know. Super excited that we have the audience that we do, and we can bring on fantastic guests like Bridger to provide value and share what he's got going on, and take you to the next level. So until next time, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, write us a review, and you can see us here on the podcast or on YouTube. So we're out there. Later.